Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Sunday, October 12th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith with you, ready to break down the NHL card on this Sunday, which has just one NHL game on it, Capitals and Rangers. But we are not having a show tomorrow for Canadian Thanksgiving, so as a result, we will break down the entire Monday NHL card on today's show as well. So we will get you an early look ahead toward what we've got on tap tomorrow. We'll be off on Monday, and then we will be back as usual Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So excited to talk about the one game tonight and the Monday card coming up. This is our first Sunday show of the season. This time of year, it's always a little distracting. At least I speak for myself because there's NFL about to begin and there's already a game in front of me. But like I said, don't forget about NHL on Sundays throughout the next few months, even though obviously NFL gets everybody's attention, but obviously NHL keeps rolling even on Sunday. We'll blaze through the recap for yesterday. Obviously, it was a massive NHL card yesterday. It was one of those up and down days for me. Some good, some bad, pretty much across the board. Started out great. I mean, the afternoon was really good. We had the winning side in both of the afternoon games. The Winnipeg Jets get it done over the LA Kings 3-2. We talked about how maybe a little bit of a tough spot for the Kings, an early start game, 10:30 a.m. Pacific start for that Kings-Jets game. Jets get it done. They rally from being down 2-1 in that game to end up getting the 3-2 win. What a great game for Mark Scheifele. He was terrific for the Winnipeg Jets yesterday. Multi-goals for him. 3-2 there for the Jets in that game. And, of course, we had the St. Louis Blues, best bet for me, after giving up the first goal in that game to the Calgary Flames. They come back and they win eventually 4-2 over the Calgary Flames, and much better performance, obviously, from the Blues yesterday after that 5-0 shutout loss against Minnesota. And as I stated yesterday, I didn't think they played as bad as that final score indicated against Minnesota. The puck just didn't go in for them. Well, it went in 4 times for them yesterday against a very good goalie in Dustin Wolf. So I know Blues fans are relieved to see that. And here's what I mentioned in the season preview when I was, talking so glowingly about the Blues, is that I was not that concerned about who's in net day to day. And I know people asked me once Joel Hofer was confirmed, does that concern you at all? I said, no, it does not concern me. Joel Hofer's a very capable goalie. He played well yesterday and gave St. Louis a chance to win. So St. Louis, a nice bounce back there, 4-2 over the Calgary Flames there in that one. The nighttime action yesterday, Washington gets it done against the Islanders. So that was one we had as a winner there as they defeat the New York Islanders. Although for the Islanders, it wasn't all bad news. They see their number 1 overall pick, Matthew Schaefer, get his first NHL goal, and it was a nice one at that. So good stuff there. We saw Florida, unfortunately. Well, that's it now. We're going to pump the brakes on Fade Florida for now, for yours truly. That's it. I said if they beat Ottawa tonight, no, we're gonna stop fading this. Apparently still a juggernaut, even though you've lost your captain and you've lost Matthew Tkachuk for extended periods. Just shows you the culture that Florida has right now. Really does. I mean, Paul Maurice has done an awesome job. Everybody steps up. Blue line is still rock solid, and they take it to the Ottawa Senators last night. 6-2 victory for the Florida Panthers in that one. I know there was some attendance figures that I found posted, and I think I maybe retweeted them. I don't know if I did or not, but I might have. But I saw them. And here's Florida, like number 2 in the league yesterday of all the teams that had home games as far as attendance. Like overflow, like more than 100% capacity. Of the flag. That just makes you think back to 5-10 years ago when they couldn't draw flies to a Panther hockey game.
Make it up for lost time with that.
Yeah, they are. They are, no doubt. So hey, that's what winning does. No doubt. I mean, it's growing. I mean, it really is. You can tell. I mean, it's definitely they're into it down there when it comes to the Florida Panthers. No question. Tampa Bay. Do we have to be concerned about them? Do we have to be concerned about Vasilevsky? Because now that's another game where he struggled. That's another game where he's given up 5 goals to the opponent. The Devils, 5-3 over the Lightning in that game. Solid bounce back for the Devils after losing to the Carolina Hurricanes, but 5 goals on just 29 shots against Vasilevsky last night. It was a great game for Connor Brown. 2 goals for the New Jersey Devils last night. I said that's a great addition to this hockey team, Connor Brown, and sure enough, he had a great night with a couple of goals in the victory for New Jersey. This game really ticked me off because it basically went the reverse of what I thought. I took Detroit in the first period. They're down 2-0. I said, I don't trust them to win the game. And then they got better after that. They ended up coming back and they won the game. Just the total inverse of what I thought was going to happen. 6-3 Detroit in that one over the Toronto Maple Leafs. And it took them a while, but eventually they did heed the words of their coach, who was not happy after their rough loss in the opener against Montreal, 5-1 at home. They bounce back. They take it to Toronto 6-3. Good win for Detroit. And those same 2 teams will play again tomorrow, an afternoon affair on Monday afternoon, Canadian Thanksgiving. So we'll preview that later in the show. Buffalo is Buffalo. There's nothing more to add than that. 3-1 Boston, another loss for the Buffalo Sabres. God, it already feels like, geez, a couple games into the season, like it's going to be a long fucking year again for the Buffalo Sabres. But 3-1, they almost get shut out in back-to-back games. 1 goal in the last 2 games combined. The one thing we weren't supposed to be concerned about with this team was offense, and apparently we have to be concerned about that now as well. So 3-1 Boston there. Rangers bounced back, revenge spot. They beat Pittsburgh 6-1. They had been blanked by Pittsburgh at MSG earlier this week, so nice response by the New York Rangers there in that game, and we'll talk about them in a minute because they're in action again tonight against Washington. Carolina, what a great game this turned out to be. Philly and Carolina, and the plucky, feisty Flyers, who unfortunately have an 0-2 to show for it. But man, they've been feisty. They've worked real hard. I've been impressed with the work ethic under Rick Tocchet these first 2 games. They were right in the game, obviously, the first game they played of the season against Florida. And then last night, they battle back. They get that game tied 3-3. And it looked like they maybe had scored the overtime winner, but it was disallowed. And then Carolina, later in overtime, gets the overtime winner to beat Philadelphia 4-3. Seth Jarvis with 17 seconds left in overtime. That's not the only very late overtime goal that we saw last night in the NHL. There was one later on. Utah with a 3-2 overtime win against Nashville. That was a good result for me. I took the Mammoth in that game. And what a result for Alex. And I had Dylan Guenther to score too, but nothing like what Alex had. My goodness. Dylan Guenther to score the overtime winner, Utah to win. It was what, plus 600?
Plus 6,000. 60,000.
6,000. I was going to say 600 doesn't seem good. Yeah, 6,000 on that. Wow, what a hit. And Dylan Guenther feels like one of these players. He's going to score every game. Now, that's not going to happen, obviously, but there are a few players that have gotten off to these starts where they've scored in every game so far. Dylan Guenther, Zach Bolduc for Montreal. And that I was just going to get to the Montreal-Chicago game. Heartbreaking for Chicago. Spencer Knight, giving up the goal late. I mean, it's just it looked like you were at least going to get a point out of that game if you're Chicago, but not meant to be. Montreal with just less than 20 seconds left, and they get the 3-2 win over the Chicago Blackhawks. That was a pretty entertaining hockey game. I know it stayed under the total, which unfortunately was disappointing for me because I was on the over by Fecta, but it was still an entertaining game. It was a feisty game, too. There was a big scrap, and there was a scrap, obviously, with Crevier against Caden Gooley. There was, physical game. Obviously, there was that big hit that led to it, that little kerfuffle there in the second period. But that ended up being an entertaining game with the Habs and the Hawks. It kind of made me think, too, with all the young talent and speed those two teams have. I wish they played more often against each other than just 2 times a year, Montreal and Chicago. But the Habs get a 3-2 win there in that one. I still think there's positive signs in the opening few games for Blashill and the Blackhawks. I do. It's going to be kind of hollow because they're 0-3. They haven't won yet. But my goodness, I mean, they're right there with Florida. They lose a tough one in overtime against Boston. They lose a heartbreaker in regulation against Montreal last night. I mean, they're right there. You just, one bounce here, one play made there, one, opportunity you don't cash in on one time, the puck doesn't go in for them, and maybe these results are different so far for Chicago. But nevertheless, I do see some positive signs here for the Blackhawks. I had the over in Columbus, Minnesota, obviously as easy as it gets, but I don't know if I had Columbus scoring 7 last night. My goodness, what happened to Gustafsson after shutting out the Blues the other night? And they get lit up by the Columbus Blue Jackets, 7-4 for Columbus. Great bounce back for them, and they didn't have to worry about Merzlikins. I mean, when you score 7 goals, you could put Aaron Dell in net and probably still find a way to win that hockey game. So
maybe.
But yeah, Columbus gets the 7-4 victory over the Minnesota Wild last night. Werenski, what a night again for Werenski. Looks like he's not going to slow down this year. 3 points, 1 goal, 2 assists for the Jackets last night. Fantilli had a 2-point night. Boone Jenner, the captain, had a 3-point night. Marchenko with the hat trick. It was just, they have a good offensive team, I think, Columbus. It's going to come down to whether or not, they get enough defense. They stop the puck. They keep it out of their net. That's going to be what it boils down to for the Columbus Blue Jackets. The late night action, Dallas, Colorado was a hell of a hockey game. It always is when those two teams play. A great game. Unbelievable performance by Jake Ottinger. Colorado deserved a bit of a better fate last night in that game. They outplayed the Stars. The shots were like 40-22. Ottinger was spectacular. The glove save he made in overtime, robbing Marty Necas, tremendous stop. He was just all over it. Phenomenal game from him. And how about this for a storyline, for cinema, as they say? Mikko Rantanen getting booed right out of the building at Ball Arena for his shootout attempt and just calmly swoops in and just rips it top corner, and then silence right after that in the building. And that ended up being the shootout winner. Dallas 5-4. A victory over Colorado in a shootout. Thumbs up so far, Alex. The early returns for Gulutzan. He's got them playing fast, playing on their toes. So far so good. And like I said, with Gulutzan and his failures in the past as a head coach, remember Calgary was not as good a roster, and Dallas was really in a bad way when he took over there the first time. So open the door for him now that he's got a good situation here, great team. That he can come in and have success. And so far, a nice 2-0 start against good teams, too. Winnipeg and Colorado. Those are the playoff teams they played last year in the playoffs. Edmonton 3-1 against Vancouver. Edmonton did play a pretty good game, 37-15. They were really controlling that game. They deserved the win. Vancouver really didn't generate a whole lot. Demko is the only reason they were within striking range distance for as much as they were in that game, the Canucks. But Edmonton getting a much-needed bounce back after that really bad ending to the Calgary game. Seattle 2-1 against Vegas in overtime. It's so far so good with this system, right? It's just rely on your defense, play very tight, very conservative, airtight in your own end, rely on your goalie, Joey Decord. I think we're finding out the blueprint for Lane Lambert in Seattle. It's win 2-1, 3-1 hockey, and sure enough, that's been the final score of the first 2 victories for Seattle, and just do enough on offense. Just cash in on those opportunities when you get them, because they're not getting as many opportunities as their opponent, but they're making good on them so far, Seattle. And then the defense has been good, and Joey Decord's been spectacular. I mean, I don't know what more you can say. This guy has been really good in 2 games, and we like Joey Decord. We're Joey D fans here. On the Ice Guys show. We've been singing his praises for the last couple of years. We think he can be a really good goalie in this league, and he's a really good goalie in this league after 2 games so far this season. That is for sure. And Seattle 2-0 to start the year. But now's the test for Seattle. They're going to go on this long Eastern Canada, East Coast road trip that's going to start in Montreal on Tuesday. They're going to play Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, a few of the teams in the U.S. Northeast coming up on this road trip. This will be a nice test to see where this Seattle team is at, and we'll see if they can keep it going. But they're playing the kind of style that can win on the road, right? Defense, goaltending, and we'll see if that can carry over to the road trip. But that'll be a test. And then just a wild affair in San Jose. Anaheim 7-6 over San Jose. That's 2. You can't lose 2 more brutal ways in the first 2 games of your season than San Jose. I mean, Vegas, you look like you're going to beat them. You fail to put it in the empty net. Eichel comes down the ice, Jack Eichel, and off the crazy wicked bounce beats Nedeljkovic to tie it. And then the giveaway by Nedeljkovic in overtime. And then to cough up a 2-goal lead here against San Jose, or cough up a 2-goal lead to Anaheim here in the third period. They tie it late. What a night for Kreider. 2 goals for him for the Anaheim Ducks. And then, of course, Uncle Leo Carlson getting the overtime winner, 7-6. Brutal. Terrible losses back-to-back for San Jose. This is where Ryan Warsofsky's got to coach him up, Alex. Get this team righted mentally, because those are 2 mentally deflating losses for San Jose, and how they respond from it will be interesting. But all the goals they could have and maybe should have scored against Seattle, Anaheim, they all went in last night after the 30-plus shots they had against Seattle, but they were stymied by Joey Decord. And shout out to Joel Quenneville, Coach Q, his first win behind the bench as an Anaheim Ducks head coach. Alex, your thoughts on a crazy busy Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, it's just so much to go through. Just kind of just rapid fire with this. I mean, Anaheim and San Jose, like I said, that was an insane game. The biggest note and takeaway I have from that is Peter Mrazek. We got to downgrade him. He is truly a backup caliber goalie, and heading.
His save percentage was .705 at one point in that game.
Yeah.
705.
He looked bad. He looked bad. And so I've made, and that's one of the things I've been just kind of really looking at when just flipping around the league and watching games, is seeing how certain goalies are looking. He's one that I'm going to be downgrading. And another guy that I'll be downgrading, still a quality goaltender when he's on, but when he's off the last couple of years, it's been pretty bad. And that's Andre Vasilevsky. Like you said, we've seen this uncharacteristic, just him, not getting to certain rebounds in time, just not seeing shots that he would normally be squared up and perfectly centered for. And that's an issue because Tampa Bay goes as far as he goes. And so it's tough to see them lose that at the game where, I like that team total, like the puck line in that one, and they end up losing by 2. So you never want to have that. Detroit and Toronto, like I said, right there with you. It was just a bad read on Detroit in that first period. Thought they'd come out with a lot more energy, and instead they just got kind of crushed there, and then woke up. And that's something we have to take note of. I've been saying this so far these first few days. Teams waking up in the second period. Those first intermission adjustments have been really noticeable in the 5 games, more so than you would see in the first week of an October. And I think that has a lot to do with teams seemingly being more defensively sound early. Like I said, we've been seeing there's some high scoring games like the Anaheim, San Jose, and Columbus, Minnesota. But even in those games, and I watched a good chunk of Columbus, Minnesota, there was still a lot more, defensive unity that you see now, where it looked like a game that would be, a back and forth game in say, December. And so that's going to be something to really note. And I'm saying that with teams that we like with full game overs, first period overs involving Chicago, for example, we might have to throw those out the window for a minute, because Blashill's got this team playing a much tighter defensive game. They're not getting the entry zone breakouts that you like to see. So when you combine those two things, now they're not really that powerful offensive team early. They're not allowing, a lot of quality shots. Knight's been making big saves. He's had to, because there's been some defensive breakdowns. But then when they turn around, they're like and I said it on Twitter, they're like a boxer waiting for a counter shot. They're not punching and throwing their own offense. They're waiting for their opponent to miss and then capitalize on that mistake. And you can't do that as your main source of offense. It's great to have that in your game, but you still have to be able to create your own offense. And that's the one problem I have so far with the Hawks. But other than that, they've looked really good, and that was a damn tough loss against the Habs. And then you look at that Nashville game. I mean, it was just a crazy one throughout, because it seemed like it had the pace to be a 5-4 kind of a game. And then it slowed down. And then, like I said, Nashville, they just hemmed things up. But you could just feel where, Utah's got a chance to tie this thing up and send it to OT. And like I said, I really liked that draw. I liked the draw more than anything else I bet in that game. But then, of course, Dylan Gunther, not only did that goal in overtime cash 61, but that was his second point of the night. So I'll end up cashing a 3-1 ticket on that as well. So certainly the best game result I've had so far this year. Hopefully to duplicate that a couple of times this year.
Yeah, it was nice to get that Anaheim comeback. That got me right around even for the day, even for the night combined. So that Anaheim because I had Anaheim money line in that game against San Jose. So seeing them come back definitely helped as far as the overall result yesterday. All right, let's get into the card. We got one game tonight and then a bunch on Monday. And again, no show Monday. So we're doing Sunday and Monday NHL game previews here on today's show. The one game on this Sunday tonight, Washington and the New York Rangers. We've got pretty much even money, -110 both sides. 6 the total here in this game. Rangers with a 6-1 win last night against Pittsburgh. Washington with a 4-2 win against the New York Islanders last night. So both of these teams coming off victories last night, and obviously we'll be looking to keep that going here in this matchup tonight with these two teams going head-to-head. Washington last year won all 3 regular season meetings against the New York Rangers. So we'll see if they can keep that success going here tonight in this game against between them. I have a small Washington bet here. That's, like I said, -110, just a small one here on the Washington Capitals. I still feel they're a little bit of the better team. They've obviously had a good run against the New York Rangers. Historically, they've played them well. It should be, as far as the goaltending matchup here tonight, very good chance we're going to end up seeing a matchup here with the backups. Jonathan Quick here, of course, for the New York Rangers, and Charlie Lindgren for the Washington Capitals. So, like I said, it's kind of a, we'll see how they fare. Again, they have not played in a regular season game, a meaningful game yet this season, but we do expect both of them to be the starting netminders for these two teams. Like I said, I do like the idea of taking Washington here -110. There are a few props I like. Adam Fox, goals in back-to-back games, and one hell of a price you're getting on him to score a goal in this one, 600 in some spots. So I think he's worth a look from a goal-scoring standpoint. Will Cooley scored in the win last night against Pittsburgh, so Will Cooley, one of my favorites, as far as props on this Ranger team. Think he might be worth a look here as far as finding the back of the net. And then another one, too, for Washington. He did get on the board Of course, he got on the board last night. I used him the game before as bargain bin. He didn't score. Alexei Protas for the Washington Capitals. But sometimes it works out that way. But, yeah, those are a few props I like for goal props tonight. Protas, Fox, Cooley as far as value goes in this one. Ryan Leonard got on the scoreboard last night, too. His first goal of the season for Washington. And he is someone that's capable, in that third-line position that he's in, of finding the back of the net. So we'll see if maybe that gets him going offensively a little bit. Alex, what do you think here tonight? The one game for Sunday, Capitals, Rangers.
Yeah, this is one, like I said, being a standalone game and a national game and a late evening game. I'm going to be watching this one live. I'll have some plays up for Patreon. Nothing pregame, because I want to see what this pace looks like. I want to see what Jonathan Quick looks like. He's a goalie who has been really good the last couple of years, really, settled into that role, being the elder statesman backup, getting his 20 games and playing well in those spots. But like I said, he's a year older. Let's see, maybe he's a little bit rusty now. We've seen with a couple of these older goalies, some of them not look as sharp early. So I'm waiting to see what he looks like. So first 10 minutes is going to be kind of a wait and see, a feel out process, and then I'll have some plays from there.
No doubt. All right, let's move to Monday now. This is a 10 game, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 10 games on Monday. Canadian Thanksgiving for those of you north of the border tomorrow. It starts with Colorado and Buffalo. We've got the Avs -160, road favorites, 6.5 the total here in this game. Avalanche starting a road trip after playing Dallas at home last night. We'll see how they fare in this one now, starting a road trip in Buffalo. Like we always say right now, you got to treat the Sabres as a team like, well, if a team lost their last game, they can usually use Buffalo as kind of like the get-right game, the get-well spot, if you will. Colorado won 3 of the 4 meetings against, actually, last year they won both meetings against Buffalo. They've won 3 of the last 4 meetings overall. Both of the games last year, high scoring, 5-4 Avs in Buffalo, 6-5 Avs in Denver. In the 2 meetings between these two teams. Buffalo put up a battle, though, both times against the Colorado Avalanche, but we might be a long way removed from those 2 Buffalo performances last year against Colorado where they gave them a battle, because right now this team cannot buy a goal offensively. They've only scored 1 goal in the first 2 games combined. The loss of Josh Norris, it's almost like this team is just, cursed at the moment. Zach Benson's been banged up. They haven't had Michael Kesselring yet. This season, who they got was one of the key pieces to that trade with J.J. Peterka going the other way to Utah. They haven't had him, obviously, yet. The one thing we can say about Colorado is, now, here's my one issue with, because obviously it's Colorado or pass for me, Alex, but the one concern is the start time. Talked about this with L.A., when you got these teams that are, Mountain Time Zone, Pacific Time Zone teams, and they're playing a 12:30 p.m. Eastern game, which would be 10:30 a.m. In Denver, the start time for this game, that's not always an easy adjustment to make. So, and Buffalo at times has been able to cash in and capitalize on some of these spots with these early home games against teams from the West. But I don't trust them right now. That's the only advantage they have, is probably the fact it's a home game for them and it's a team West to East playing a very early start, because there's nothing they can hang their hat on right now. They're not scoring goals. You can't fully count on them, rely on them defensively either. They've given up 7 goals in the first 2 games combined. This Buffalo team, they got question marks in net on a day in, day out basis. I'm sure we'll see Alex Lyon here because he's probably going to get the majority of the starts probably for Buffalo moving forward. But Colorado, off the loss to Dallas, they were able to score, win the games, both games against Buffalo last year, and get to 5 and 6 goals, by the way, in those 2 games. So while I don't love the price on Colorado, because you're talking about minus 160 on the road, for an early start game, and a 10:30 a.m. on the body clock, I think I still could get there with a 3.5 over on Colorado's team total. That might be the way I approach it here. Colorado team total over 3.5 around minus 105. I haven't locked anything in yet for Monday for the most part, but throwing out what I'm leaning toward, and that would probably be it. Colorado over 3.5 team total. Maybe a first period over here as well. Maybe just a little bit of a sloppy start to this game. So those are a couple of things I'm considering here for Avs and Sabres. Alex, what do you think here? Colorado, Buffalo.
Yeah, I would want to definitely watch and wait for a first period over. Like I said, the start time definitely could affect Colorado. So I'll be looking for Buffalo first goal in first period. And if you cash that, more than likely we'll be looking to grab Avalanche money line at a cheaper price, especially if we're talking, maybe minus $1.10. They're down 1-0 early, as opposed to 150, 160. And I don't want regulation money line either, because this could be a game that maybe finds its way in the OT. But the one thing I will have for sure locked in: Buffalo to score first goal, first period, and then that'll more likely lead to an Avs live money line play for me.
All right, good stuff indeed. As far as props go, like I said, as long as Josh Norris is out, Yuri Kulik probably has some value right now. Marty Necas is red hot. I wouldn't talk anyone out of looking his direction as far as props of some kind for the Colorado Avalanche. And this is what you get from him. He's got absolutely, he loves playing in October. He's been a fast starting player, and we'll see if he can continue his great start to this season here on Monday in Buffalo. All right, Nashville, Ottawa. We've got Ottawa minus 170 home favorites, 5.5 being the total here in this game, shaded to the over. Nashville losing to Utah, Ottawa losing to Florida last night. So both of these teams coming off losses in their games last night. We'll see if they are able to bounce back. UC Saros and Linus Ullmark projected to be the starting goalies. One thing that's concerning here to begin the year for Ottawa is Ullmark giving up 10 goals in the first 2 games combined. Even though they beat Tampa, he did give up 4 goals in that game, and he gave up 6 last night to the Florida Panthers. So not the start Linus Ullmark was hoping for in net for the Ottawa Senators. But here's the thing: Tampa, pretty good team, capable of scoring goals. Florida, the same. Nashville, not so much. This is not an offensive juggernaut here for the Nashville Predators. So, like I said, I think this is an opportunity maybe to buy the dip, if you will, on a guy like Ullmark. I think he'll play better here. Home opener, too, for the Ottawa Senators after starting and on the road their first 2 games. I'm going to go with an Ottawa first period puck line in this game. I think they jump on Nashville. They get the lead, fast start, home opener. Canadian Thanksgiving, so I'm sure it'll be, pretty solid crowd there for this one on a Monday afternoon. So definitely interested to see how Ottawa starts. I think they'll start well. I like that bet. Now, people were all over this. I was eyeing Ottawa full game money line, Alex, but this opened minus 135. It's gone all the way up to minus 170. So I'm not alone in liking Ottawa in this game. But it's just, it's moved a lot. So you got to go either in regulation or maybe you go minus 1 puck line if you're going to take them full game. And I probably will dabble in that, but more so I like that first period puck line. I think they'll get out to a lead, plus 135, plus 145 in some spots with the Ottawa first period puck line. So I like the value on that. Maybe Ottawa team total over 3.5, too, but I like the puck line look a little bit more because I could see 3-1 Ottawa, something like that, 3-2 Ottawa even. But yeah, Ottawa first period puck line is my favorite look in this game. Alex, Preds, Sens.
I really wish this was a night game, a daytime home opener. So you got the ceremony with everybody skating out and things starting a little early, and I just feel like that maybe could be a kind of a weird start. So this is one I'll be waiting for live. Otherwise, it's a pass for me because, like I said, Ottawa I definitely would lean toward, but even with this 5.5 in a day game, and Nashville, like I said, their offense can be shaky, but I feel like they tend to score even less in day games as opposed to night games. So this is one I would more than likely stay away from. If I have anything, it'll be live.
I love this prop that I'm going to give you for this game so much. I would even, it's not my best bet for the show, but man, it would be so, I love it so much. I would consider making it best bet for the show. Shane Pinto to score a goal. This guy can't be stopped right now. He got their 2 goals last night, both goals he scored for Ottawa last night against Florida. This guy, and he scored against Tampa as well. He's another one of these players. He scored in both games to start the year for the Ottawa Senators. Great start. I saw some tweet that he's on pace for 164 goals or something, or 84, 100 something goals this year. Obviously, he's not going to get that, but no, it's been a great start for Shane Pinto, no question. Like I said, I'm fascinated to see what the let me see. Do we have no? The problem with here's the one issue with doing the show or talking about games that are the next day. No prop lines available yet, so I can't tell you what prices are out there for Shane Pinto to score a goal in this game as of now. But obviously, when the player prop markets are released for these games, probably either late today or tomorrow, Shane Pinto goal prop will absolutely be on the card for me.
You got to just say it. This is probably the most important time to be a Patreon member because, like I said, a lot of the props and things that we will be betting, the numbers just simply aren't available right now. So they will be coming through into the day and certainly tomorrow. So whatever we don't get to cover on the show right now today, you'll see on Patreon tomorrow, and we'll have things up for the morning games, the early games, and of course the evening games.
Yeah, no doubt. I think, by the way, they found out the reason, too. People are interested. How come Shane Pinto's off to a red-hot start? We found out that he's actually betting on himself to score some of these. Couldn't resist. Man. Couldn't resist. Yeah, couldn't resist. No, he's just playing great hockey. He is. And I told you this. He's got some really good offensive instincts, really good skill, and ability to put the puck in the net. And I always said that from day one when he landed in Ottawa. And, there were ups and downs last year at times, but he is showing it to you right now. He's got that ability to just let her rip and find the back of the net, and he's doing that so far in spades for the Senators to begin the year. All right, Tampa Bay, Boston. We've got the Lightning minus 150 road favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. Yeah, this is one of those. You don't have to bet every game games for me on the card for Monday. I don't think I'll be involved too much with this one. One of these deals where you should. Tampa off the loss, still think they're the better team, obviously. I think Boston's going to hit the wall at some point. Boston, don't tell them they're bad right now. They've found ways to win. They're off to a good start this season. The Bruins beating Washington, beating Chicago, beating Buffalo so far this season. I give them credit. They're overachieving a little bit right now. They're going to take the ice with some confidence right now. And clearly there's been an uptick in energy here. Marco Sturm in his first few games, obviously behind the bench. And Tampa's not, with Vasilevsky struggling and fighting the puck right now, that's not a team I'm looking to lay minus 150 with, but I'm not going to take Boston either. Maybe the draw. Could we get this game maybe going over? Alex is nodding his head, so I kind of think I know what he likes here in this game. Yeah, I think that there's some overtime potential here in this game. Maybe a sprinkle on the draw for me. By the way, we should see as far as goaltending here. Again, this is not a back-to-back for either of these teams, so we would expect Vasilevsky and Swayman. Although part of me maybe thinks John Cooper gives him, not a rest. It gives him maybe a break. Maybe goes to Johansson. Who knows if that's going to happen here? But and we're not the biggest fans of Johansson. I would say give Vasilevsky the start. He's your horse. Let him work through this little funk that he's had here in the first 2 games of the season. But we'll see where John Coop goes with his goaltending here. But the draw would be a lean here for me. Alex, Lightning, Bruins.
If it's Vasilevsky, it's just the draw. If it's Johansson, it would be a sprinkle on the draw and then the over. And then that's, like I said, just based on we don't really like Johansson. And Johansson, once again, one of those goalies I've seen him struggle more in the day than the night. And that goes back to his time, of course, in Buffalo as well. So, definitely would be on the over if he's in net. But I do like the draw. Really like the draw if it's Swayman and Vasilevsky. Tampa, like I said, not in their best form. Boston looking fantastic so far. But we know, like I said, it's kind of a paper wins. Washington, that game was just really sluggish. Chicago, of course, not the best team in the world, and they made a few mistakes as well. Boston was able to capitalize late in that. So this game feels a little bit more even if the number ones are going against each other in that.
And Marco Sturm, like I said, he does have them, and that's a great point by Aaron. Yeah, right now they're playing solid in their own end. They're like Seattle East right now. Lane Lambert and Marco Sturm, their teams are playing very similar. They're going to want to play lower scoring games. They're going to want to be good defensively. They're not going to want to trade chances, go up and down, get in a track meet with the opponent. They certainly don't have the offensive weaponry beyond the top line of Pasternak and company to really play that kind of a game. So, they're going to want to play defensive hockey, and they've had 2 of their 3 games go under the total, which doesn't totally shock me. Now, because I thought all along Boston was going to play some lower scoring games, be an under team. Jimmy kind of got me worried when he said in preseason this team was a nightmare defensively in their own end. They're playing terribly, but clearly with their starting allotment on the blue line, we've seen in the first few games they're playing, decent. They're committing to a let's protect our net first system right now, and it's given them a chance to win games, and obviously a 3-0 start here for Boston to begin the season. All right, Winnipeg Jets, New York Islanders. We've got Winnipeg minus 120 road favorites, 5.5 the total here in this game. I think I'm going to be on Winnipeg in this game, probably. I don't want to set it in stone yet, but I just don't. I'm not a big fan of the Islanders this year, and sure enough, they've kind of proven me why so far. With 0-2 to start the year, losing to the Capitals and the Penguins in their first 2 games. It's a great point, Aaron. They're taking definitely fewer penalties, Boston. That's certainly helping their cause as well. I've noticed that. Not getting penalized is a good start to helping you win games. No question.
That's true.
Yeah, I lean Jets here for sure. I'm just waiting to see who's in net. The only concern this could be a Comrie game. I just get that weird sense this could be an Eric Comrie game, that Scott Arniel just decides, I'm going to give Eric Comrie his first start here in this game. But Jets bounced back from the Dallas loss to beat LA 3-2 yesterday. And keep in mind, too, for the New York, Sorokin in net here for this game against the Winnipeg Jets. Sorokin is one of these goalies that, is kind of a prove-it-to-me first goaltender. He's given up 4 goals in the first 2 starts against Washington and Pittsburgh, 4 goals in each in those 2 losses. Like I said, I don't think Sorokin's been a great goalie since 2 years ago. That's when he had his great season, and he was mediocre last year, and he's not been overly spectacular to begin this year so far in the first 2 games going into this one. So, yeah, that's Jonathan. You just in the chat a moment ago said what my one concern is. This has been a haunted house for the Jets. They have, for some reason, they have not played well here on the island here against the New York Islanders. They have not played well on the road against the Islanders. Islanders have won 8 of 10, 5 straight at home against Winnipeg. And I remember back in the Jets last year when they went here to play the Islanders on the road, and they lost that game too. So this has been a tough place to play for Winnipeg. I can't explain it, but some teams just have a tough time in certain buildings against certain teams, and we've seen that with the Winnipeg Jets here with the Islanders. But this does still feel like a very cheap price to back what I think clearly is the better team right now, the Winnipeg Jets. So I still probably will end up with Winnipeg in pocket, minus 120. Alex, what do you think here? Jets, Isles, Islanders?
This is a draw if it's the starters. If it's a Comrie game, it's going to be a pass. I would lean toward Islanders, but like you said, I like the Jets' form a little bit better. But Comrie also a goalie that gets not really crazy backing. So this more than likely ends up being a pass, but it screams draw to me. Once again, in daytime too, this definitely screams draw. That's more than likely what I'll be leaning with. Like I said, but I need goalie confirmation for Winnipeg first.
Yeah, no question. All right, Detroit and Toronto. This is the back end of the home and home between these 2 teams, Red Wings and Leafs. They were in Detroit last night. Red Wings 6-3 win, and now in Toronto here for the rematch Monday afternoon, and they moved the start time to 2 p.m. Eastern for this game. It was supposed to be 4 p.m. Eastern, but Blue Jays and Mariners Game 2 ALCS will be late afternoon, so they moved this up to 2 p.m. Eastern time. And it's on Monday. It's only on Prime. There we go, our first Prime Monday Night Hockey game of the season. This is not the first game. There's also a second Amazon Prime Monday Night Hockey game later on this slate. We've got Toronto minus 190, home favorites, 6 the total in this game. I kind of think, too, you're right with Aaron, that after 6-3 Saturday, Berube's not going to be happy with that, giving up 6 goals. The Leafs are going to want to tighten it up, clamp down in their own end a little bit. I could certainly see that here in this game. That could be an under spot. I think it's probably a Toronto bounce-back spot, too, in this one. They obviously won their first game at home against Montreal 5-2. Before that loss against Detroit last night, 6-3. It is worth noting they had won 4-3 and 3-1 last 2 times they've hosted the Detroit Red Wings going into this game. Now, it was Stolarz last night. You're kind of in a pickle, though, right? This could be one of these games where Joseph Woll might get a start. But Joseph Woll's not around right now, still dealing with the personal matter that he's been attending to. Clearly, it's a serious one. Because he's certainly been away for a while, and from all indications, he's going to be away from the team for still a good amount of time moving forward. So, your backup now is Caden Primo, who, as we have talked about, is his numbers in the NHL level have not been good. They've been good in the AHL. They have not been so good in the NHL, and I'm getting that weird feeling that with playing the same team again, and the fact that it was Anthony last night, it wasn't Anthony's fault, by the way. There were some real egregious mistakes defensively by the Leafs, which they don't normally make. Leafs play Nashville Tuesday, Rich. That's exactly why I think, because just to give the Red Wings a different look, that they might give Caden Primo this start on Monday afternoon against Detroit, knowing, again, that, as you mentioned, the Leafs play again Tuesday against Nashville, and Stolarz will play that game. So keep an eye on this. I'm not saying it's for sure, but I'm saying there's a real potential here for Caden Primo to make his Leafs debut and start in this game on Monday afternoon against Detroit. Or maybe Craig's going to go back to Stolarz and maybe play Primo against Nashville. Who knows? But I'm just saying, be careful if you're betting this game. Make sure you're aware of that.
Yeah. I would lean to the latter on that. It would just make sense in my head to play your better goalie in a game against a division opponent, and then have your backup go against a team in the Western Conference that in a game that kind of means a little bit less in the grand scheme of things. But I don't know. Like I said, we don't know, and that's why you have to wait and see what's going to happen with the goaltending. But it's certainly interesting, and I just find it maddening personally, because I think Dennis Hildeby's ready enough to be a backup. I know they want him to get starts in the AHL because they believe he's the guy of the future.
That's what it is.
But it ain't like Stolarz.
For too long.
But it ain't like Stolarz is going anywhere. And the thing is, because of this condensed, we talk about it, this condensed schedule, during the year, he would be able to get some decent start. This would be a perfect start. I'd probably be looking to back Toronto in some way, especially because they wouldn't be 190 if it was Hildeby starting. And I'd probably be looking to back Toronto if that were the case. But with Caden Primo, like I said, he looked good with the Wolves last year. He's had better AHL numbers the last couple of seasons. But we know once he gets up to the NHL level, he's not that guy. So this is one I got to wait and see for sure. So nothing for me as of now.
All right, there we go. Nothing at the moment here for Alex with the same with me. I mean, I'm waiting to see who's in net. I kind of think I want to back Toronto after the loss to Detroit on Saturday, but I'm waiting to see if it's Primo and net, I'm going to go team total over, not anything with regulation or first period puck line. I'm not going to do any of that if it's Primo. I'm just going to go team total. Trust the offense, which I think could probably score 4 goals here against Detroit. Now here, same thing with Detroit, because Talbot got the win against Toronto on Saturday. Does Todd McClellan just roll right back with Talbot again because he got the win Saturday, or does he give John Gibson the chance to start here against Toronto? John Gibson that struggled in his first start, obviously, with the against the Montreal Canadiens in his first start. So very interesting to see how that plays out. Really, both ways. Both coaches have decisions to make as far as their goaltending. As far as props in that game, I do want to mention a couple things. Casper, the friendly betting ghost, he did score last night. He's always worth a look. Raymond had a great game, by the way. Lucas Raymond was terrific last night for the Red Wings. And here's just a prop concept to keep in mind for this game and moving forward for Toronto. Obviously, we know we've talked Nyes and Bobby McMahon and all these players repeatedly. Morgan Riley props are, you got to bet him right now. This guy is being more aggressive offensively from the blue line than I've ever seen him before. He's jumping into the play. He's scoring goals. He's getting in on the offense. He's facilitating. He's setting up his teammates. He had a 2-point night last night for the Toronto Maple Leafs, despite the loss. 2 assists against Detroit last night. He had multi-points, I believe, in the game against Montreal as well, the first game of the season. So right now, like I said, with Morgan Riley, they say he's skating better than he's skated in a very long time. He's worked on his skating in the offseason. So Morgan Riley props. Don't be, goal assist, especially the assist props. Maybe even a 2-point prop, which he's been involved in a lot, of the Leafs' offensive success here early on. So something to keep in mind moving forward. All right, New Jersey, Columbus. New Jersey minus 130, road favorite, 6 the total. I should point out the rest of these games for Monday are the night games. So these next 5 games are all nighttime games on Monday. This should be interesting. New Jersey with a nice win against Tampa Bay, 5-3. Columbus pounded Minnesota, 7-4. Let's see how these teams fare here. This is another one where, again, we want to wait and see who's going to be in between the pipes. Markstrom and Merzlikins right now are the projected goalies for this game. And I guess now look how things change, right? Jack Reeves didn't play that bad against Nashville. In fact, he played pretty well, but they lose. Merzlikins, gives up 4 goals. I don't think Merzlikins was great, but they win, so they're going to maybe give Merzlikins the chance. I mean, it's kind of weird how that works, but even though I thought, Greaves might have played better than Merzlikins in a loss than Merzlikins did in a win. So, it's kind of a weird dynamic here, but wait for the goaltending situation here. If it's Greaves, I like Columbus. If it's Merzlikins, I like the over. First period, it's supposed to be over by Fecta if it's Merzlikins in net. And I even lean over if it's Greaves, quite honestly, but I'll like it even more if it's Merzlikins in net. So over by Fecta, Columbus, if Greaves is in net. That's kind of where I'm leaning here. Alex, New Jersey, Columbus.
I'll be on first period over regardless, but I'll be adding full game over if it's Merzlikins and looking to add more on both. So bifecta and adding into live, and then I'll be adding plus $1.10 with Columbus if it's Greaves. I'm right there with you, and like I said, and I wouldn't be shocked, even though like you said, Merzlikins did get the win, Greaves got lost. But it would shock me if Everson continues to maybe flip flop for a few more games before kind of settling on one guy to roll with. That's the way they've made it seem so far, that this is truly a 1A 1B system. So it would be Greaves' time based on that kind of structure. We just got to wait and see.
All right, next up, we've got Florida and Philadelphia. As tempted as I am to maybe take another shot against Florida, I'm not going to here. But I like how this sets up for Philly. Philly gave Florida a battle last week down in Sunrise. Now they get them at home in a rematch here. Florida minus 140, road favorites, 5.5 the total here in this game. Maybe the draw. I probably will land on the draw in this game with the Panthers and the Flyers. I think we could see some overtime here. Flyers have been, like I said, they're a very unfortunate 0-2 so far. I think Rick Tockett's got them playing real hard so far. The effort's been there. They've had chances to win both of these games against very good competition. Florida and Carolina, these first 2 games. Took Carolina to overtime last night. The draw to me makes some sense. I think we could see Philadelphia come. Now, do they win the game? That's the question, because obviously they didn't in overtime last night against Carolina, but I think they're good enough maybe to push this game beyond 60 minutes here, especially with this being their home opener as well for the Philadelphia Flyers and Rick Tockett's first behind the bench on home ice. Like I said, they're doing a lot of good things. The offense still is a work in progress for them, but like I said, they're doing a lot of good things. They're certainly showing more of a commitment as far as playing good away from the puck, which is a big plus for them. Bobrovsky and Ersson are the projected goalies in this matchup, but obviously not confirmed yet. Again, as of now, the draw does appeal to me a little bit here in this one. Alex, Panthers, Flyers.
This is where you have to take off your smart handicapping hat and put on a dunce hat and think like a square for a second. Tomorrow it's Canadian Thanksgiving. It's Columbus Day. People are off work. There's going to be baseball on. There's going to be, a whole bunch of other things. This is definitely a spot where Florida money line will be tied into a lot of parlays. Everybody will be looking for something to bet. They remember Florida, the Stanley Cup champion. They see they're undefeated. Boom. I'm going to add them in. Minus 140 will turn to minus 170, 180 pretty quickly. So I say wait for the draw because I do not like 330 as a price. I want 350, 360, 370. And that could happen if this price with Florida moves up. So I'll be waiting to grab the draw, but I'm hoping for more money to come in on Florida throughout the day tomorrow.
I agree. Bobby Brink's worth a look as far as props. He has looked outstanding, Robert. That's a good value one on the Philadelphia side. If you like a goal prop in this game, I agree. He's looked really solid for the Philadelphia Flyers here in the early going this season. So that's a good call on that. He's like I said, and this is a guy that's got some upside for them offensively. Same with Forster. Obviously it goes without saying Matvei Mishkov, but like I said, there's definitely a few of these players that needed to take a step forward for the Flyers and showing signs they might be able to this season. Bobby Brink is one of them. All right, St. Louis and Vancouver. It's on Monday. It's only on Prime. This is your other Amazon Prime Monday night hockey game. Second game of the doubleheader that they've got going on tomorrow. Vancouver minus 135, home favorites, 5.5 the total here in this game. Canucks obviously were pretty much outplayed by Edmonton. I mean, as far as territorially against the Oilers, that game was close because of one Thatcher Demko, who played outstanding, really for the Vancouver Canucks in that game. We'll see how they fare here in this one. This has been St. Louis 7-3 in the last 10 meetings against the Vancouver Canucks, and they've also taken 4 of the last 5 meetings in Vancouver over the Canucks. Going into this one. Like I said, Vancouver off the 3-1 loss to Edmonton. Prior to that, they beat Calgary 5-1, but they caught Calgary on a back-to-back after being at Edmonton the night before. And, of course, they got Devin Cooley in net. So, really the one win, you could say, well, it was Calgary, and it was with Devin Cooley, the backup goaltender, and the Flames were on a back-to-back after a very intense battle of Alberta the night before. So, pretty much everything was lined up perfectly for Vancouver in that game. Blues get their first win out of, I don't know what happened to them offensively. Well, I do. The puck would not go in. They didn't get much puck luck. Gustafsson was very good. Just didn't cash in on their chances. They had chances. Just didn't cash in on them. I don't think it was a great game for Binnington. Seemed like everything Minnesota got as far as chances, it was going in. But a nice bounce back for St. Louis yesterday in Calgary, 4-2 win over the Flames. I like St. Louis at this price. I don't think anybody's shocked to hear that, knowing how high I was on the Blues coming into the year. I like them at this price. They've won 4 of the last 5 at Rogers Arena in Vancouver. 7-3 the last 10 meetings for the Blues over the Canucks. They're plus 115 here. I like that price on St. Louis. Binnington and Demko projected to be the goaltenders, but neither one confirmed as of now. But yeah, at this price, I'll be on St. Louis plus 115. Maybe the draw too. I think I might have to look at the draw in this game just based on the fact that 3 of the last 4 meetings have gone past regulation, and 5 of the last 8 between these two teams have gone past regulation as well. So I'm going to dabble on the draw. I'm not totally convinced the Blues will need overtime to win this game, but when it's 5 of the last 8 between the two teams that have gone to overtime, that's a hard track record to ignore. So Blues in the draw for me. Alex, what do you think here? St. Louis, Vancouver.
I'll grab draw plus 320, and I can already bet this now at FanDuel. 60-minute correct score, 3-3 tie plus 1,400.
All right, wow, 3-3 plus 14.
I like the over.
Yep.
I like the over in that. So.
Over 5.5. The Blues did go over the total against Calgary. Full game did. First period didn't, but the full game did. Yeah.
So I technically you could go over 5.5, but I'm just going to be stubborn and wait and try to grab a plus price in game. But I will be on draw and 3-3 tie already. Yeah. So 14-1 on that 3-3 correct score and plus 320 on the draw.
I might get in on that over. I'm just seeing it now. 4 straight overs in the series with St. Louis and Vancouver as well. And Adam Foote, it didn't look like it last night because they didn't generate much of anything against Edmonton, but they do want to apparently activate the blue liners a lot more this year, Vancouver. Get them involved in the offense. That's what Adam Foote's looking for. So
And
I was
St. Louis
expecting
will.
an uptick in pace. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say St. Louis will let them generate a little bit more pace. Calgary doesn't have the greatest offense in the world, but they were flying at one point
Yeah.
early in that game. So, and that's the thing, we've seen teams get the early jump on St. Louis. So St. Louis right now, I have them kind of marked as a live team. The last couple of games where we've seen teams really get after them early, and then they had make, like I said, those first period adjustments. St. Louis has been one of those teams to really adjust after the first 20 minutes.
All right, next up, we've got LA and Minnesota. We've got Minnesota minus 125, home favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. I'm pretty damn sure this is going to make my card. I'm picking on LA again. Shocker. But Minnesota off the 7-4 loss to Columbus. I'd expect focus, dial it back in here for another home game against the LA Kings. I think they will do that. Kings on the road. We talked about it last year, how awful they were on the road last year. I don't think they played terribly against Winnipeg yesterday. Actually, they didn't. They played all right, but at the end of the day, they didn't win. They lost 3-2, and they lost a lot last year, the LA Kings, when they played on the road. So I think Minnesota in a bounce-back spot. This is a very, very reasonable price to back the Wild at XL Energy Center. How many times have we just pontificated on this show about how Minnesota is just minus 150, minus 160, minus 180 at home way too often? And now you finally have them here at a reasonable price, minus 125, off of a home loss that's not going to sit well with them. So Minnesota here for me, minus 125. Alex, what do you think? Kings Wild.
Yeah, well, first it's Grand Casino Arena now, and secondly,
got to get that right. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I'm right there with you. I like Minnesota. I would be leaning more toward a team total, so I'm gonna wait for that. Those numbers, I haven't seen those numbers come out yet, so I'll probably be on team total over with Minnesota, which did cash yesterday. Like I said, that fourth goal needed that, and that game just turned into a track meet in the third period. And we've seen them be able to generate offense, in the first couple of games. So I'm more than likely to be on the over here as well. This is one where I maybe dabble small free game and then add a little bit more in game. But liking goals here. So Wild team total, full game over. Those are things I'm circling for now.
Yeah, kind of a tough break for that Winnipeg LA game yesterday not to go over the total. I mean, that game was sitting there at 3-2, midway through the third, and just couldn't get either that tying goal for LA or that empty net goal from Winnipeg to put it up and over the total. That's now two, for Minnesota too. I mean, the first game stayed under against St. Louis, but barely. And then, of course, the 11 goals against Columbus. It's been funny about the games in Minnesota is there's been a couple of really high-scoring affairs in Minnesota between these teams in recent years. So we'll see if that continues here. And LA's played well in Minnesota. That's the one concern of all. They've actually had success here in Minnesota in the past, but I don't think that's going to happen here. I do like Minnesota in this spot off the loss to Columbus at home. And by the way, we've talked about how that top line for Minnesota could be really dangerous, and they've looked really good so far. Boldy, Rossi, and Kirill Kaprizov has looked really good, that top line for the Minnesota Wild. If they can get, and Hartman, is a guy that stepped up and been able to score goals for them, for this year already in a depth role. If they can get anything from Tarasenko offensively, this team's going to have that ability to put the puck in the net. Better offensive team, in my opinion, Minnesota this year than they've been maybe the last couple of years. All right, next up, the last game, actually, for this Monday slate. The Utah Mammoth taking on the Chicago Blackhawks. We've got Utah minus 160 road favorites here in this game, and the total sitting at 5.5, shaded to the over. They're not going to go 0-82, Alex. I can promise you that, the Chicago Blackhawks. And I continue to think there's good in what I've seen from this team. There's obviously areas they need to clean up. You cannot have a lapse and get hemmed in your own zone in the last minute and give up a goal to lose the game. That can't happen. And that's a learning experience for Chicago last night against Montreal. You got to secure the point, right, Alex? Secure the point. Find a way to get the game to overtime. Find a way, and unfortunately Chicago couldn't do that last night. So again, these are learning experiences here for the Chicago Blackhawks. I think they're close. They've been so close to winning the Florida game, Boston game, the Montreal game. it's Chicago or pass at this price. I think they're going to win one sooner rather than later. When you look at Utah, they lost to Colorado. They beat Nashville, obviously, which, solid win, but, I've still got doubts about just how truly good Nashville is right now. But like I said, I think there's definitely positives to take from Chicago's performances, even though they didn't win the first 3 games. Karel Vejmelka, Spencer Knight are projected in net for the 2 teams here, but again, we don't have that confirmed as of yet. Worth noting, too, that Utah, they already had some injuries, a couple anyway, but now Sean Durzi is showing up on the injury report. He got injured late in the game against Nashville on Saturday. Andre Tourigny had no update, so he looks like he's day-to-day at the very least. They'll miss him. He's a good puck mover, plays on the power play. Solid defenseman for Utah. We'll see if he suits up here. They're still without Barrett Hayton as well. So a couple of injuries on the Utah Mammoth side of things going into this game. Like I said, I've not firmed up my stance for this game yet. Obviously, there's several games like that. By the way, I do want to point out, as far as last year, these teams played 4 times. 3 of the games went over the total between these 2 teams. Utah went 3-1 in the 4 games, but Chicago did. The one win for Chicago did come here at the United Center, and it was in a 4-3 overtime win. So we'll see how this one plays out. Chicago, though, we talked about this with their, and I think you commented on this. I think I saw the comment you posted on Twitter about it with the Hawks, that they look a little bit more buttoned up defensively, than we have seen it. And now, obviously, it didn't show up in the last 30 seconds when it needed to. But overall, you see them starting to piece things together defensively, that they look like more of a competent team at times in their own end. And obviously, we saw an under with them. So the total, I'm kind of back and forth, but I do lean Chicago. We'll see who's going to be in net. Alex, what do you think here? Final game for Monday, Utah-Chicago.
Yeah, definitely want to see who's in net, and especially for the Hawks, leaning toward backing them if it is Spencer Knight, of course. The thing that you got to look at would be probably a point parlay and a goal parlay with Frank Nazar, the Hawks, and Dylan Guenther, Utah. Those are the 2 things that come to mind when I see this matchup
on the card.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah, I'll have one of each individually, but I will probably parlay both of them to get a point. That I think that seems fantastic. If that's minus 120 or better, that will definitely be on my card and like high up on my card. So
yeah, they've both been great. Frank Nazar's been great. He's been noticeable offensively, which is good for everyone that took Frank Nazar props like I did. I have Dylan Guenther 30 goals prop.
Yep.
That was my best bet, by the way. Best bet on the Western Conference season preview show for me was Dylan Guenther 30 plus goals. I don't want to toot the horn too soon, but nevertheless, wow, what a start with that.
And I forgot to even mention that I cashed my bargain bin last night with Frank Nazar plus 470. We got so enamored with the 60-1 on Guenther, but plus 470 for Frank Nazar. So 2 bargain bins already this year with Nazar just this week.
That's right. You had that as your bargain bin. Yeah, Frank Nazar over 1.5 points, plus 470, and it was a great price on that as well. So congratulations to Alex with that. So a couple of bargain. I got to get my act together with the bargain bin. I haven't
come in due time.
It's coming.
Yeah,
no doubt, it's coming. And my bargain bin will be from the Washington New York Rangers game on Sunday. We will. That's the only game I can choose from because we don't have player props posted for the Monday games as of yet. So it has to be from that Washington New York Rangers game. All right, great stuff. A shout out to everyone in the chat. We appreciate it very much. Like I said, great show. Like I said, we won't be on tomorrow for Canadian Thanksgiving, but we will be back on Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern. And again, just based on the fact that we're doing the Monday card today, the day before, we've got, I know what I'm going to be on in a few of the games. I'm still waiting on goalie confirmations, injury, lineup news with some of the other games. So all the more reason to be a Patreon member.
Yes.
Very important. Tomorrow, right before puck drop, I'll make sure I get the card up around noon Eastern tomorrow before the first game starts. And you'll have the full card from me, from Alex at that time. For all our Patreon members. And speaking of Patreon, there it is, $10 per month, patreon.com/Ice Guys, goalie charts, totals charts, all our bonus content, videos, shows. By the way, I posted a Player Suite interview I think I did weeks ago. I forgot to get it up to the Patreon page. Patrick Murray's going to join us actually Tuesday. Matt Robinson's out on Tuesday for travel purposes, work purposes, I believe. But Patrick Murray's going to join us on Tuesdays. He's a Western New York guy. grew up a Sabre fan, now coaching hockey in Nashville, youth hockey,
Okay.
and
Nice.
just been living in Nashville for years. So he's like, Predators are like his second favorite team. Sabres are still his favorite team. I don't know why, but actually I do know why. He's a Western New York guy, so he grew up cheering for
Right.
the Sabres. But Nashville's like his second favorite team. He bets on hockey, bets on sports, so he'll be a good guest on Tuesday. Looking forward to having Patrick join us on the show on Tuesday. But patreon.com/Ice Guys, that Player Suite episode with Patrick Murray's up there. And, of course, our daily card, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. So make sure you sign up and subscribe. Now's the time to do it before we get too deep into the season. Just $10 per month. Patreon.com/Ice Guys.
Also, check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. Midnight tonight is when this coupon expires. You 20% off of all orders $70 or more. So this is the perfect time. You want to get a hoodie and a cap. I know the people having, kids and grandkids. Shout out to Perlo. Perlo's a grandfather now. I sent him the link. We've got stuff for babies. We've got stuff for little kids. We've got stuff for your spouse, for yourself, whomever. Iceguys.myspreadshop.com. 20% off of orders $70 or more. That expires at midnight Eastern tonight.
Good stuff. Make sure you check it out before midnight. Get in on that sale at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. And last but not least, wizardsportspicks.com. I'm there. Alex is there. Matt Robinson's there, and a slew of other great handicappers. Check it out, wizardsportspicks.com. Bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up in just a moment, right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
Royal Cannabis, where the kings and queens shop.
All right. There we go. Sorry about that. Check it out. RoyalCannabisShop.com. 20% off. Promo code Ice Guys. Make sure you check that out. All right. Bargain bin special of the night. Excited to see what Alex can do for an encore after Frank Nazar with the 2 points or more, plus 470 last night. Alex, bargain bin special. What do you got?
Yeah, let's go with Connor McMichael, the Washington Capitals, to get the first goal of the game. I'm seeing plus 1,900 at FanDuel with that prop. I can see the Caps getting on the board first, so we'll go Connor McMichael, first goal, plus 1,900. That's my bargain bin special for Sunday.
All right, there you go. I like it. Connor McMichael for the Washington Capitals, first goal for Alex B. Smith with his bargain bin special of the night. My bargain bin special of the night for this one, back-to-back games with a goal, and it's an even better price than some of the other players I was targeting for a bargain bin special in this game. Let's go with the defenseman for the New York Rangers, Adam Fox, plus 560 to score back-to-back games with a goal and plus 560 to find the back of the net. I'll take a shot with that. And and John Massey was on this, and it tells you how fans know their team. John Massey knows his New York Rangers. What did he say? He said he's going to be freed up to get his offense going again this year. He's not going to have to be as focused and just on the defensive side of things. Obviously, you still want to play good in your own end, although at times we haven't seen he's capable of it. But it's going to be a situation where he's going to have more opportunity to roam in the offensive zone, activate from the blue line, keep plays alive. And we're seeing that back-to-back games with a goal now for Adam Fox. So I will take that value. Adam Fox for the New York Rangers, plus 560 to score a goal tonight. That's my bargain bin special of the night. All right, best bets. Alex, it could be anything. Tonight's game or Monday's game. What do you like for best bets?
All right, let's look at the Monday slate then, because I was kind of thinking like, I may just pick up something for here. But all right, we'll go with Monday. Let's look at the over in. I'm just grabbing my chart. I wrote down. Let's go with that over in Columbus. First period over, and the Columbus game tomorrow. That'll be my best bet. So we'll have that, of course, finalized on Patreon and everything once we get the prices. But I will be on that first period over, regardless of who's starting in net for the Blue Jackets.
All right, there you go. New Jersey, Columbus, first period over. Some books have it up already. Minus 120 is what we're looking at.
Okay, all right, yeah. So that you can bet that now. There's no reason to wait for that.
Yeah, no doubt. So there you go. New Jersey, Columbus, first period over. Best bet for Alex B. Smith. And my best bet here for this Sunday/Monday, I'm also going to go to a game that's taking place on Monday. And I'm going to go with the, I'm going to go right back to the team I cashed a best bet with on yesterday's show. St. Louis Blues. I like them at that price. They've played very well against Vancouver head-to-head. I mean, I can't say, Vancouver's one win was the Flames on a back-to-back with their backup goalie in net. So I can't give the Canucks too much credit for winning that game. And, of course, we saw them lose to Edmonton 3-1. Blues looking to, get some wins going here in a row. I like the underdog price we're getting. Plus 115, the St. Louis Blues for my best bet here for Monday in NHL action on the Ice Guys show. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Appreciate you guys very much. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. And like I said, we will be dark tomorrow, if you will. No show, but we will be back Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern time. And again, for all of our finalized bets and plays for the NHL slate on Monday, make sure you become a Patreon member. We will have those posted early in the day tomorrow.
Yes.
And the card will be posted from both me and Alex. Again, check it out. $10 per month, patreon.com/Ice Guys. Great stuff. Great show again, as always. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, 2 p.m. Eastern weekdays, Saturday, Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Sunday and a great Monday. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you in Canada. Enjoy the holiday tomorrow, and we will be back on Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern for another edition of the Ice Guys.